Hey, happy Mike Rotunda Monday. That's right, it's IRS Day. And I am here with Robert Karpolis. We're talking about taxes here today, and we're talking about pro wrestling. Not so much taxes. Robert, how are you today?
Yeah, that's kind of the problem for some of your favorite wrestlers of the past is they didn't talk taxes, and that's why they still owe a tremendous amount of money to the United States government and are forced to work at your local high schools and armories. But before we get to that, say hi to some of the fine folks in the chat. Christopher Zanto, good morning, my fine rumorites. Let's Billy and the CW boys. Sure. Mike Malaro, happy Monday to Robert Dom and everyone watching this live. And Antonio Santos, happy Monday, fellas. It's look, we're good. We're keeping it simple here, folks. We got a lot to cover. Big weekend of pro wrestling, big Monday for pro wrestling. And yes, just as a final reminder, get your taxes in. You don't want Mike Rotunda showing up at your house, in part because he will beat the crap out of you.
Yes, he will give you the write-off and it'll be over, folks. It'll be over. But it's what's not over is the show yet. We are talking about
What are you talking about? This show is super over. We're over
Well, I
with
mean,
everybody.
over as in time's up. Over.
By the
I don't
way,
mean
we're
over.
so over. I want to start this show by giving a shout out to those joining us on the Ad Free Show's YouTube page.
Yes, hey.
Take that, Jeff Jarrett. It's a Monday. We know where we rank, or he's doing something else. I don't know.
That might be it. That might be the latter, Robert.
No,
But
I think he's bowed to our might, our strength, and he's just politely stepping to the side.
that's right. Fargo strutting to the side there.
What is with you in the
we got
Fargo
plenty to
strut,
cover.
man?
We got plenty to cover, including what happened on SmackDown this past Friday. We're going to preview Raw. We're going to talk John Moxley as the IWGP champion, the new IWGP champion. Will Ospreay had a little chat with RJ City, and then The Rock talked a lot over the weekend. So let's get to it, Robert. SmackDown took place, and there's some ripples in the bloodline. We are going into extra innings, as a matter of fact, because Tama, son of Haku, has showed up on SmackDown and seemingly all kicked Jimmy Uso out of the bloodline definitively alongside Solo Sikoa. Pretty good segment there. Lots of questions, some answers. Robert, what'd you think of this?
I love the way that Paul Heyman is able to lay out these segments because there's no way you can watch this and think that Paul is not intimately involved in the pacing, the setting, the blocking, every element that happened here. This is what we expected to see potentially on Raw.
Yes.
I think my initial thought was we were going to get a refreshed bloodline under the control of The Rock, who we know is going to be going away and they're going to be doing his bidding. Instead, we've got intrigue as to who's actually in charge here. So Solo taking out Jimmy. I will disagree with the idea that Jimmy is definitively out of the bloodline. There is the possibility that these guys are transitioning from what I would consider Godfather-esque mafia control to more street gang, where you didn't do what you were supposed to do. You got a beat down, but hey, you're still in this thing. You're not allowed to leave. So we'll see where they go with the Jimmy Uso piece. The Tonga debut, he immediately felt important. He felt impactful. The announcers put over, that's Tonga. That guy's been running roughshod in Japan. And oh, by the way, he's Dominic D'Angelo's close personal friend, Haku's son.
That's right.
Great picture of you and Haku from over the weekend. But yeah, look, I think you're now wondering what's going on with Solo, the way Heyman sold this, the fear, the quivering, the pleading, don't do this. This is not what Roman wants. And then he tries to call Roman. He step on the phone. And then later, when Solo approaches him and says, by orders of the tribal chief, does that mean Roman is talking directly to Solo? Does that mean Solo views himself as the tribal chief? Is it The Rock who's still calling the shots here? A lot of fun questions. It's what I think the Raw after Mania was lacking. The SmackDown after Mania definitely picked it up.
Yeah, very cool. You want to see those kind of surprises. A lot of neat ripples going on there. And we're going to see likely, Jacob Fatu get into the play at some point in time too, which is also very intriguing.
Super excited for that, by the way. I think Jacob Fatu is incredible. And if you guys have not had a chance to see him, He is an imposing presence. He's extremely agile. He definitely falls into that Umaga category of a guy who should not be able to physically do what it is that he's doing, especially off a top rope, and is a nice complementary piece to what the Bloodline is putting together.
He's a heck of a promo too. That's another thing that kind of goes to the wayside with all his talent in the ring. He sure can talk too. So that's very excited for him. Yeah, but the rest of SmackDown too was pretty intriguing. They set the table even without the head of the table there. We had 2 squash matches that went on, which Braun Breaker, and then we also had Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill getting the W2, the easy Ws. But on top of that, we are getting very close to determining who will Cody's first opponent be. And sure enough, LA Knight and AJ Styles are going to get a rematch with one another to determine that. Robert, you think good setup? We talked about AJ being the perfect adversary for Cody right off the bat. Looks like we might get it.
Look, we laid this out on the preview for SmackDown on Friday. I like when you guys tune in for this, try to make you as informed as possible, thinking the way that creative thinks. You're seeing it play out. They looked at the different options that they had. You're getting to the draft, which I believe starts next Friday, if I'm not mistaken. But there was really only one clear choice, which was to get to an AJ Styles Cody Rhodes match. You want a babyface versus a heel. You're also able to get a WrestleMania rematch, so you're able to hype LA Knight versus AJ for next week on SmackDown to have a little bit of meaning. I think that works really well. Cody's promo on SmackDown, to me, less effective.
Mm-hmm. Why do you say that?
It felt like he was leaning into some of his worst impulses that we've seen before. He had a driving narrative of, I want to finish the story, but I'm behaving like I'm the champion now, and quoting Brandy, over explaining who the challengers were. It was this feeling of it was a Vince philosophy. Vince used to think, based on ratings, there were people who only watched Raw and people who only watched SmackDown. In his brain, there was direct competition. We all know that's not true. There was nobody who was, I'm only going to follow what's going on Raw and I'm going to ignore what's going on SmackDown. It's kind of illogical. But Cody felt like, hey, there are people who just watch Raw for me. And now that I'm on SmackDown, I have to introduce all these people to the audience. And it comes across as a little disingenuous. And it's what I've said all along, is you do have the ability at any point in time to pull the trigger and turn Cody if need be. But due to selling merchandise like crazy, crowd was still really into him on SmackDown. The AJ feud is a little lesser than coming off of the Roman stuff, obviously, but I think those two can do some really interesting things in the ring.
Yeah, I think you could set the table up pretty good for them both. I'm kind of, Robert, that is an interesting kind of thing to chew upon, is that Cody, I mean, like, yeah, the way he delivers, and you guys talked about this on Wrestle Roast too, was like how he delivers promos and stuff like that. And, you know, it can come off very heelish in certain ways. And if you're giving a lot of backstory that's not much needed, and you're speaking with a certain tone and all that stuff, Cody can certainly convey that heelish vibe, even though he is a great baby face too. So you could definitely see pro wrestling crowd turning on Cody and going with somebody else and stuff like that. It's going to be really interesting. It's almost going to be akin to like John Cena, you know, like him having that babyface role, but the crowd ultimately not liking him and going against him. So I don't know. It's they're going to have to wade these waters pretty good, and maybe Cody will have to kind of find a little way to adjust his delivery and certain things like that too moving forward. I'm intrigued. I am intrigued on several
I think
levels.
that the advantage Cody has over Cena is
Mm-hmm.
the crowd kind of buys into the overall Cody story. They've taken this journey with him. They're familiar with the humble beginnings, the bad booking in the WWE, leaving to go to Ring of Honor, leaving to go to New Japan, forming AEW, coming back. So you have the credibility of the internet fan base as well as the casual audience that's watching, and they go, "This guy is our hero. He's altruistic. He means what he says. He does what he says, and he's somebody that we can get behind. But you're right, Dom. It is something that he's going to have to chew on. And speaking
Mm.
of things you guys need to chew on, this episode is sponsored by Blue Chew. Let's talk about sex. Guys, remember the days when you were always ready to go? Now you can increase your performance and get that extra confidence in bed. Visit BlueChew.com. Blue Chew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in chewable tablets and at a fraction of the cost. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. The best part, it's all done online. No visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew tablets are made in the USA and prepared and shipped directly to your door in a discreet package. If Cody Rhodes is the American nightmare, Blue Chew is an American dream. And just like Dusty Rhodes' bionic elbow, you're going to have another part of your anatomy that's going to be especially bionic once you pop one of those Blue Chews, because Blue Chew wants to help you have better sex. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. Chew it and do it. And we've got a special deal for our viewers. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code RUMOR at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code RUMOR to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this episode of Rumor and Innuendo.
Yeah, before we move on to Raw and preview that, I did want to touch upon Bayley and Tiffany and Naomi. I thought Tiffany's going to be a pretty good compliment to Bayley as an adversary, I think. Very good condescending delivery, and Bayley's getting back into that babyface groove. What do you think of that, Robert, initially, and then moving forward, what do you think of the potential with Bayley as your babyface champion with somebody, an adversary like Tiffany or some other names too?
So I was surprised that they're going with Naomi right off the. We'll see if that stays. I think Naomi is. I'm glad that she's back. Her work since she has returned seems to feel a little bit like it's a step off. I don't know what it is, but yeah, Tiffany Stratton came on very strong. That's kind of what you get the Raw after Mania or SmackDown after Mania is somebody new who's stepping up and saying, "Hey, I'm here and I want to be seen and heard and noticed." And I think her presentation was really remarkable. I'm a little disappointed they didn't go outright with it, but we'll see where it's ultimately going to land. I think if they stick with Bayley and Naomi, it's gonna be a good match. It's gonna be kind of a flat match. And Bayley and Io definitely outshone what their build was. It starts to disengage.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting too because like you look at the women's roster and it's always there's such talent on there, but who is heated up enough for Bayley to go up against and have some feuds with?
It's a one-off.
Yeah,
because once you get to the draft, the deck will be reshuffled.
That's a good
problem
point,
right now for SmackDown is, and it's not a bad problem to have. They have such a strong women's roster that you have Bianca, you have Jade, you have Charlotte, who's on the shelf. You've got a lot of top tier women that you can immediately plug in. Not even talking about Damage Control, and then you look over on the other side on Raw, and with the exception of Becky, there was nobody who was really primed to be your next top babyface, with the exception of Liv Morgan, and that's kind of where they're going with this.
Right. And we're going to probably see some of that tonight because Liv Morgan did attack Rhea Ripley, on the Raw after Mania. So table is being set for that. In addition to that, some of the matches that we have lined up is Chad Gable going up against Sami Zayn for that Intercontinental Championship, something we talked about on last Tuesday. Plus, there was another match announced. Jey Uso may be the number one contender for Damian Priest, but he will be going up against a Judgment Day brother and Finn Balor. So those are the two big matches announced, Robert. Plus, there's that question, what's next for Drew McIntyre? And Cody Rhodes is scheduled to appear tonight as well. So what are you expecting from Raw tonight, Robert?
So it's in Montreal, hot crowd. They're going to be really engaged and really plugged in. The Sami Zayn, Chad Gable main event makes a lot of sense. that crowd is going to be all in on Sammy, but it's going to be what happens towards the end of that match or after that match that's really going to tell the story. It feels like we're setting up a Chad Gable heel turn, which would allow them to do a rematch at the Backlash premium live event. I caught myself.
Oh boy.
Woo! I would have been bad. That would have been. I would have rather just dropped an F-bomb than accidentally say pay-per-view. It's going to be a great match. It's going to be a hot crowd. I think it's going to be really fun, and it's a great match that's going to lead to a great storyline. And I think that's what's really fun about it. Whether this is the Chad Gable turn, that he's frustrated that he lost, he couldn't get the job done himself, or it's a situation where this is where Gunther is going to reemerge, and we're going to see him kind of wipe everybody out and set up a rematch. But I don't love the idea of necessarily beating Gunther to pay-per-view, to premium live events in a row. It's a Monday,
Robert,
guys.
what are you doing?
The wheels are falling off. So Jey Uso, Finn Balor, another great match on paper. Gonna be a hell of a match. Finn's an insane worker. Big fan of Finn Balor.
Mm-hmm.
They're in this situation where Damian Priest is not really established as a champion. Last week, Raw opened with Triple H sort of anointing Cody as the WWE champion, The Rock acknowledging Cody, and then Priest coming out later feeling very much the secondary champion. I know you mentioned that Cody is going to be on Raw. I would not have put Cody on Raw. I would have rather it be Damian Priest as your champion. Cody there muddies the water. I understand the notion that they've been advertising this show and probably been promoting Cody, and you want to do a make good. You don't want to have ads. I'm getting ads right now. Raw is coming down to South Florida in, I want to say, August, and Cody's front and center. Most likely, yeah, Cody will get drafted to Raw. He's the face that Netflix is going to want. They can move Priest over to SmackDown with the rest of the Judgment Day, and everyone will be fine at USA. But for now, you need to at least pretend that this is Damian Priest's show. The challenger that he's going up against with Jey Uso is someone who really is not a truly established main event babyface. We've seen him go up against Roman. I know they call him main event Jey Uso, but he's got to do the heavy lifting and make it feel like Jey Uso versus Damian Priest is a real feud and not just a transition story to get us to the draft. When you're booking or you're writing, whatever it is, you want to know, okay, who's the crowd absolutely going to respond for? They're going to pop for Jey Uso no matter what now. They're getting Jey Uso to that Rey Mysterio territory of you hear the music, crowd's going to go nuts no matter what he's doing. They're going to yell yeet. They're going to do the hand gestures. They're going to be all in on what that guy is presenting to them. So it's a little bit of a cheat, and that's okay. The match should be good. I think Damian Priest matches, no one's expecting 5-star classics, or in Meltzer's case, 6-7-star classics, but you're going to get about a 3.25 star, very solid match that no one's going to walk away from feeling truly disappointed. But at the same time, got to make Jey, super credible. So by utilizing Finn Balor, I think that's a really good idea. I know elsewhere, I think it's Andrade and
yes, that's
Dom. The lesser Dom of wrestling.
Yeah.
So you're furthering that story. Obviously, you got Rhea and Liv. Judgment Day is able to eat up a lot of segments on Raw, and that's what makes them so incredibly valuable to the WWE. And then there's the tease of when are we going to see Sheamus back?
Yeah, that's true too. And that might lead me into my next question I had for you, Robert. Could we see him go up with Drew McIntyre? Is that the next dance partner for Drew? Because right now, Seth Rollins is going to be gone for a little bit. CM Punk's clearly injured. He's not in the number one contendership spot. So where do you position Drew here? It's such a valuable commodity and somebody that really shined at WrestleMania.
It's another good cheat to do Sheamus and Drew.
Mm-hmm.
Pay-per-view premium live. My God.
My third time, Robert.
Third time, man.
Jeez.
This is rough.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's you get a chance to do the match in Europe, in France. I think Sheamus and Drew, there's already a history, there's already a backstory to it. And I'm gonna blame my PLE lists commentary on the fact that I haven't had a chance to eat lunch yet. I think that's what it is. I'm
You
going
a
to
little
eat as
hungry?
soon as I'm done. I'm a little hungry, but the good news is sitting in my fridge is some Factor. And
Mm.
guys, if you want to eat stress-free this spring, you can try Factor's delicious, ready-to-eat meals. Each fresh, never frozen meal is chef-crafted, dietitian approved, and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. Choose from a weekly menu of 35 options, including popular options like Calorie Smart, Keto, Protein Plus, or Vegan and Veggie. Also discover more than 60 add-ons each week, like breakfast, on-the-go lunch, snacks, and beverages to help you stay fueled and feel good all day long. What are you waiting for? Get started today and fuel up for your springtime goals. This is a shoot. I'm genuinely, I'm starving. I'm excited to go eat lunch after. I think that's deflecting some of my focus on the pay-per-view PLE mess. But don't worry, there's no mess when you're using Factor. No fuss, no mess meals. They eliminate the hassle of prepping, cooking, or cleaning. Simply heat and savor the good stuff. That's what the copy says. I don't use the phrase savor the good stuff.
I use it.
It's just damn good food. That's pretty much all I can tell you. You pick the options. It's quick to heat up. It's really great. And head to factormeals.com/rumor50 and use code rumor50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next box. That's long-term booking, guys. That's code rumor50 at factormeals.com/rumor50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next box while your subscription is active. That's a hell of a deal.
You get these shots too. These,
I love those
shots are
things.
great. They're
I got
great.
one sitting in my fridge right now.
Man.
My wife took the yellow one this morning. I got the green one sitting there waiting for me this afternoon before I got a 4:00 meeting today that I gotta prep for. I'm gonna definitely down one of those, get a little energy, a little focus going.
Get a little PLE in you there, Robert.
That didn't sound at all appropriate. Speaking of appropriate, it's appropriate that we touch on our friends at All Elite Wrestling.
That's right, Robert. Man, so people were talking about SmackDown and all that stuff, but hey, what kind of popped a little bit was that Jon Moxley is your new IWGP champion. Happened in Chicago at Windy City Ride. He fought Tetsuya Naito. Naito? Did I say that
Naito?
right? Naito. And is the new champ. Big stuff kind of thing for New Japan. Is it big stuff for AEW, Robert?
What do you think I'm going to say? I am of the firm belief that your company's championships, your company's titles are the most important, most valuable thing in the world. And everyone on your roster has a sole mission of winning and retaining those titles, including your world title. Moxley winning the IWGP title, if you're advancing this into some sort of story that's going to further All Elite Wrestling, fine. I never loved the idea of these guys wrestling outside of the promotion. I get that this is some of their passion and what they love. And as CM Punk has said repeatedly, he's not in the same business as them. And when I think the business of pro wrestling, I think your talent is being utilized to further your product and putting their best foot forward on your show. It feels like Moxley is a different animal when he's wrestling outside of the confines of AEW. There's a focus to him. There's a drive to him. There's a different level of intensity. People were going nuts over this match. But unless this is building to some sort of forbidden door story or situation, I don't see it mattering. And in fact, it was actually to a detriment on Collision. I actually watched Collision this week for a thing with Wrestle Roast for their Patreon. But the crowd was chanting for Moxley. And this is a crowd that has now, it's tough for them to convince these guys to pay money to go to their show. It's not like they've been playing to sold out buildings. And that audience at the end of the show, there was a Don Callis family beatdown of Danielson and Claudio. That audience was expecting a Moxley run and that they did not get because Moxley was elsewhere. And it doesn't really help narrative wise. It just felt like, yeah, we're not getting the best version of our roster, and the crowd is not shy about letting them know what they want.
Yeah, and I think Moxley, since the beginning, since he debuted in AEW, he's been the constant. I think the constant kind of flag bearer, like that Cody Rhodes really started off as, and then the big advocate and kind of that guy that really put the company on his back in a lot of ways. And, it's cool that he's the IWGP champion and like broadening out there. But I mean, yeah, it kind of speaks to, you want to keep that focus on your stars and not on other companies and stuff like that. What does that counteract Samoa Joe as the champion, your AEW World Championship? You mentioned it too, how it's like put that focus on that world title. A big name star of your company has a different world title. And so, yeah, it kind of, does it distract? Does it help?
It depends on if you consider these the same level. I don't. So I don't consider the IWGP title to be at the same level as the AEW World title, and I don't consider Moxley to be at the same level as Samoa Joe because he has it. I think that the real focus, the real attention needs to be on the Samoa Joe swerve story, and everybody needs to be doing whatever they can to climb the ranks. And speaking of focus, Greg Jacobson here just said Dom's cat is trying to show its butt on camera again. Yeah, I noticed that too. It's
he's lingering around. Thankfully he's he's over here.
Look, it's great, bruv. I love it, bro.
It is great. You know what is great too is Will Ospreay. He had an interview here with RJ City on Hey EW. RJ City, the Dick Cavett of today, and he happened to talk to
I don't know why that popped me, but holy crap, that popped me. You don't get enough Dick Cavett references.
You really don't. You really don't. Carol Burnett days, all that stuff. But Robert, I mean, this was a cool interview, and it was fun. Like, all these AEWs are a lot of fun. But with Will Ospreay in this element and kind of loosening up a little bit and just chatting away with RJ City, he talked about having a dyslexia, being autistic, and ADHD. But on top of that, too, he gave Kurt Angle some his flowers, too. It was a really neat interview. Did you happen to catch this or not?
So I did. So this is the first episode of this I've ever watched.
Really?
I don't know how that's possible. I'm familiar with RJ City. I met him once years ago. I knew him through a lot of the David Arquette stuff. I watched this clip. It's like 16 minutes long.
Yeah.
It was so wildly entertaining. This was it's got the Between Two Ferns feel to it.
Yes, yeah.
I get I'm late to the party. You guys already know. Like, I'm explaining to you something you already like. Hey kids, sit down. Let me explain to you the exciting world of pro wrestling. No. I just think that there's a natural joy and giddiness to Ospreay. There's a goofiness to him, but he's also incredible. They were talking about like Meltzer's star ratings and what star rating would he give Meltzer, and tells a story about headbutting a goat. And you don't know, like, is he in on the joke of what's going on in the segment? Is he taking it earnestly? Doesn't matter. This is the dude I want to see. I don't want to see the guy from Dynamite who's taking shots at what's going on in WWE. Just let it roll off your shoulders and be like, I don't need this. I got a good thing going on. I'm wildly successful here. I like that he touched on the autism and dyslexia and ADHD. He talks about that autism is a superpower for him. I think that's a great inspirational message. He really put over Kurt, and then points out, like, Kurt's the best, and Kurt doesn't have 5-star matches from Meltzer, but I do. So let's not try to make any sense of this. But the thing that I can make sense of, guys, is if you listen to the show, if you're watching this show, you're thinking to yourselves, I wish I had more Dominic D'Angelo in my life. Yeah. Dom, where else can the fine folks find you?
Geez Louise, you can find me at rvdtv.com. And today, 420, Monday, is a new episode. Rob and I, we chat about the WrestleMania weekend. He gives his thoughts on the CM Punk footage. He also gives his thoughts on Paul Heyman's Hall of Fame induction. And then on top of it, too, there's a lot of other questions we get answered, too. It's a lot of fun. It's a great episode. Check it out, rvdtv.com. Drops at 4:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Plus, you can check out the Four Horsemen Network, fourhorsemennetwork.com. A new episode of Straight Talk with the Boss, Magnum TA and Greg Gagne, will drop tomorrow. We focus on Cody Rhodes and generational wrestlers. Cover a lot of ground on that. Give their thoughts on WrestleMania. Good episode. So go to fourhorsemennetwork.com, hit subscribe, like. Go to rvdtv.com, hit subscribe and like. That's where you can find me. But you can also find me behind the scenes of a very good show that Robert is a part of called Wrestle Roasts.
Yep, it's myself and 3 stand-up comedians, Mike Lawrence, Dan St. Germain, and Scott Chaplin. We kind of break down the news of the week in a very fun way. We're roasting the world of professional wrestling, mainly because We used to do actual roasts because these guys are professional roast comedians, but we got lazy, didn't want to change the name. So Wrestler's, it's still a hell of a show. It's still a lot of fun. We are still remarkably mean to one another with a lot of the language you can't use on here, on all the various ways in which you can watch Rumor and Innuendo, which first and foremost, streaming on YouTube on ad-free shows on a Monday. Take that. Jeff Jarrett, also streaming on YouTube on the Rumor and Innuendo page, as well as a variety of X accounts. The WWE Creative _ISH X account, Dominic D'Angelo X account, Podcast Heat. Podcast Heat is who makes this show possible. And SE Scoops, a hell of a spot for you to go get your wrestling news in written form, which is where, we get a lot of our news from. Dom, a writer there. He's remarkably talented. So on behalf of the hyper-literate Dominic D'Angelo, I'm Robert Karpelis. Best of luck in your future endeavors.
Do your taxes.